good morning. Welcome to this second day. I hope you can hear me well. I can hear myself very well, too well, actually. So I hope the same for you. I'm very, very happy and very honored to be moderating this first session of this second day. My name is Emma Toledano Laredo. I'm the director responsible for a number of countries: Austria, the Netherlands, Germany, Poland, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic, as well as a number of instruments and policies, of which the public sector loan facility, which is the focus of our theme this morning, and this is within the European Commission, the Director General responsible for regional and urban development. And I'm very happy to see many of you this morning, and the first thing I should remind you of is that if you need interpretation, you have to connect to the app Interaxio and put the code of the session so that you'll be able to be listening and communicate as well for the session. Now, yesterday you've been hearing about the opportunities to learn about projects funded by the Just Transition Fund, as well as the many opportunities of the technical assistance. And today, through this session, we would like to complement your knowledge through the opportunities that are open to you through the public sector loan facility, which is the third pillar of the Just Transition mechanism. And this facility also has its own very important role and peculiarities in terms of reaching ambitious climate objectives and helping people, helping the areas that are most concerned and that are part of the territorial just transition plans, reaching that objective and ensuring what we call a just transition, because we know that the social and economic costs of transition are, of course, particularly high for certain areas and certain people. Now, today we have most distinguished speakers with us to be able for you to learn more about the public sector loan facility. And we will start with an overall introduction of the facility and learning about the main implementation features and results of it over the last 2 years with Sabine van der Mouten. Sabine is the deputy head of the unit responsible for this facility within our directorate and within our Directorate General, obviously. We will continue for you to learn about the advisory opportunities through Borislava Gavrovska. She's a senior advisor at the European Investment Bank, the EIB, and she will tell us about more the loan part of the facility, because you have to know that the facility has a grant part and a loan part, and it is a joint venture between the Commission on one side, so our Director General, the SINEA agency, and the EIB on the other. And she will then let you know about the technical assistance that is available under the Invest EU Advisory Hub. And it will actually complement what you have already learned yesterday in terms of technical assistance opportunities I was mentioning, in terms of JTP groundwork, cohesion for transition, JASPERS and Target, as well as the technical support instrument. And then we will have, among our speakers, actually 3 project promoters, so the public sector loan facility beneficiaries. And each of them will actually present you their experience and their projects, and they are from Skellefteå, Lille, and we will also hear from Ostrava. So our representatives from Ostrava are actually connected with us online. So Gustav Ulander, he's the representative of the Swedish commune of Skellefteå. Lorian Jakolski is coming from the European metropolis of Lille, and Ludmila Basova and Pavla Kosakova, so they're coming from the city of Ostrava, and as I said, they are connected online. So you know also, or you may know, that to engage in the discussion by asking questions, you can do it via swap card. I think you have already been using it yesterday, so normally you should be able to do so. And we will have the time hopefully, because I have to run this a bit like Speedy Gonzales, we have a lot of knowledge we want to transfer and share, but, and a number of speakers, but we also want to dedicate some place for, obviously, for your questions and answer. And of course, at the end of the session, you will also have the opportunity to continue the discussion with our speakers, but also with representatives from the agency SINEA and other colleagues from Sabine's team who are here in the, down the show. So in the meantime, we would like a bit to know better our audience, yourselves. So I would like to ask you to participate to a Slido survey. I don't know if it's ready already. It is? Okay. So you have to connect to the Slido. I think it's indicated somewhere. And there are a number of questions which actually help us identifying your profile. So which type of entity you represent, how familiar you are already with the public sector loan facility, not at all, a bit, absolutely yes. And have you already applied for funding under the facility? Yes, no, but I'm planning, no, not yet. And were you aware of the availability of the advisory support for the facility under the Invest EU Advisory Hub? So I can see the results. So first, the first question is which type of entity you represent, and I see that we have a majority from the regional public authorities, but it's we also have representatives from local public authorities, which of course are one of our main targets in terms of beneficiary and civil society. So we have quite a good representation for the session, which is good, because of course each one of you come with a different perspective and different questions. So the second question is how familiar are you with the facility? So let's see how, let's say, useful that this session can be, in particular if you are not at all, let's say. So that's, yeah, so we see that there is a majority indeed between those of have a basic understanding and are new. But of course, it's good to know, it's reassuring to know that some of you already have a good understanding of the facility. Of course, the facility has been running for more than the last 2 years. So by now, it's also good to know that there is a good percentage as well. But that is also, I mean, it makes our session relevant to make sure that we continue to share information about the facility that will run until 2027. So, have you already applied for funding? Good. I see that there is a majority that is there to be able to get information today from this session. And I'm, you know, I really hope that at the end of the session you will be even more determined and encouraged to go for it, thanks to our different speakers. But I see that we also have a tiny minority that has already applied, and of course I hope that they can also stay for the debate even after the session to give a number of tips and tricks in addition to our speakers today, to those that are maybe thinking or and should be further encouraged and supported. Now, were you aware about the availability of the advisory support? So that's also a good question to get to know you, and also for the speakers, if I'm not hiding the screen from them. So that's really a very relevant element that we will learn from our senior expert IDDIB, the advisory support, because we would really like to push. This is something that is easily accessible. It's free, and it really can make a big difference for you when preparing the project. So, but now that we know a bit yourselves a bit better, let me start immediately with our first speaker, Sabine. She will give you a bit of a quick background introduction into the facility, as well as its first steps into implementation. Thank you, Sabine. Sabine is going to start actually with a video. Visual tools are always easy and nice, so I don't know if the video is ready.
As the EU strives for climate neutrality by 2050, regions across Europe are shifting to a sustainable economy. The Public Sector Loan Facility, part of the Just Transition mechanism, helps regions heavily dependent on carbon-intensive industries to address social, economic and environmental challenges arising from the transition, ensuring no European citizen is left behind. The facility combines grants and loans to mobilise additional investments in the most affected EU regions for their transition to a climate-neutral economy. Support is available to EU public bodies or private bodies with public service missions for projects in line with the territorial just transition plans of the member states approved by the European Commission. To access this support, applicants must apply for a loan to the European Investment Bank and submit a grant application to the European Commission through the Funding and Tenders portal. Beneficiaries will receive a loan and a grant representing 15% of the loan or 25% in less developed regions. Applicants may also seek advisory support for project preparation, development, implementation and capacity building via the Invest EU Advisory Hub. Support requests can be made with a simple call or email. The Public Sector Loan Facility is managed by the European Climate, Infrastructure and Environment Executive Agency, in coordination with the Directorate General for Regional and Urban Policy of the European Commission and the European Investment Bank. Join us for more information on our projects and funding opportunities.
Do you hear me? Yes, the mic is on. So this was a nice little introduction of what PSLF is. So I will enter a bit more into details and I will try to keep it short so that we can also listen, well, mainly to the people we have here with projects. But just a little reminder of what PSLF is, and I don't see the slides yet on the screen. Yes, you can put the next slide already. So as our commissioner indicated, so PSLF will help to deliver, to reach our green objectives in a fair way. And so also thanks to the agreement with the EIB, so the Public Sector Loan Facility will, next to the grant, will also offer public authorities in the regions and territories that most need support preferential lending conditions. And this for projects that do not generate sufficient revenue to be financially viable. So these are the main objectives of the PSLF, so the third pillar of the Just Transition mechanism. So if you go to the next slide, please. So it's said already different times, so it's a blending facility, so we have the loan component and the grant component. Just a little word on the available budget. So we have up to 1.3 billion available in grants. So this has been reduced a bit following the MFF review. Together with that, we have an indicative amount of between 6 to 8 billion of loans. And it would mobilize an additional 6 billion of other resources. So in total, the facility should mobilize up to 13 to 15 billion of public investments to reach the just transition. So the objective and the scope. Next slide, please.
A więc jakie są cele, jaki jest zakres? Tak jak już powiedziałam, PSLF wspiera projekty, które związane są z wyzwaniami transformacji w kierunku celów klimatycznych Unii. Wspiera bardzo szeroki zakres kwalifikowanych sektorów.
So you can see there a list of all the sectors which are listed in the regulation, and then these are detailed more in the territorial just transition plans. You have to be aware also, we are aligned also with the GTF and the GTF regulations, so what we cannot finance are projects that are not eligible under Article 9 of the GTF. So the same article applies to the PSLF, so this needs to be kept in mind. So the main features of the public sector loan facility, so as we said, the beneficiaries are public entities. So it's financing not linked to cost. So for the grant component, it means that we give you 15 or 25% if you are in a less developed region of the loan amount. So the projects must benefit a territory identified in the transition plans. The budget also, the available budget for grants are now divided in national shares. So this means that a certain amount is reserved for the different member states, and the allocation key is the same as the one for GTF. If you want to know what those allocation keys are or what the amount for your member state is, you can find them on the website of CINEA, where you can also see what's the consumption already of those national shares. And then, of course, we have the advisory support, which is available under the InvestEU framework, under the InvestEU Advisory Hub, which is delivered by the EIB, but Borislava will tell a bit more, go into detail about that. Now, quickly on the application process, we are aware it's, next slide please. We are aware it's a bit of a cumbersome application process in the way that you need to apply for a loan on the one hand, and you need to apply for a grant on the other hand. So we would really recommend that you really first go to the EIB to have a discussion on the loan and have your loan agreed on before you are coming to the Commission for the grant. This can, of course, also happen in parallel. But in total, the application process can take up to 1.5 years, so it's quite a long period, and this is mainly due to the due diligence procedures that has to take place in the EIB, so for the loan facility. Of course, if your loan is approved already, this can be much shorter because the grant procedure can go quicker than at that moment. So for the grant, we do an assessment of the grant. Next slide, yeah, thank you. Where we look at these different criteria. So first, we will look at the admissibility and the eligibility criteria. So this is, in a nutshell, so we look if the proposal is complete, if the applicants, are indeed public law bodies, if the projects benefit a just transitional plan, and indeed, so if the loan is secured. More importantly, we also have the award criteria, where we look at the relevance and the impact and the quality of the proposal. And I would like to emphasize that if you apply for a grant, this is really an important point, that you present a good quality proposal, that you pay attention to explain how this is contributing to the just transition. So it's not sufficient only to make a reference to the just transition plan. We would like to see a bit more explanations. It's also important to pay attention to the horizontal principles. So how do you take into account gender equality? How do you take into account the Charter of the Fundamental Rights? Because what we have seen in the previous applications, that sometimes this is a bit forgotten, that people are mainly focused on the projects as such, but it's very important also to address those issues. Because the better and you explain, the more chance you have that we don't have to reject your proposal, and because you can resubmit afterwards, but okay, it's always delaying. So pay attention to the quality. Then in addition, we also have prioritization criteria. So this means that the proposal gets extra points if the project is located in a less developed region, if it's contributing to the achievements of the climate and energy targets and the objectives of the climate neutrality, and if the project applicants or the projects promoted by the applicants have an adopted decarbonization plan. So once you had a successful assessment, then our colleagues of CINEA who deal with the grant application, they will invite you for the preparation of the grant agreement. So we have, next slide please, we have 2 call proposals. So one is ongoing for the moment. We have still 3 submission deadlines next year, so one in January, one in April, and one in September. And then there will be a second call where we have no reservations anymore of the national shares, which will be launched in 2026. Now, a quick state of play. So until now, next slide, please. We have 37 proposals have been submitted, 15 have been selected for funding, and at this moment we have signed 5 grant agreements, but there are several grant agreements that will still be signed before the end of this year, so this figure will go up. All of these, well, the signed grant agreements for the moment are representing 100 million in grants. When we have a look at absorption of the national shares. Next slide, please. So we see that, well, some member states have used up their national shares. It is the case for France, and we have a representative of France here. It's not correct on the slide, but it's also the case for Sweden. But we have still member states with a very large allocation where we didn't receive many proposals. So for those member states, I would really invite you to have a look, because in 2026, the national reserves or the national shares will not be reserved anymore, and they will be made available for everybody. And well, the first come will be first served when they present good proposals, of course. The project that we had until now are really in different sectors. So it was about urban renewal, social housing, sustainable mobility, energy efficiency, social infrastructure. But the representatives of the member states who have concluded already projects will go more into detail about that. So this is all on my side. Just a quick reminder, we have an information brochure which is also available at the discussion corner. And then we have on the CINEA website, we have also a control list and tips how to fill in the application form. So I would also invite people, when you apply for the grant, have a look at the website of CINEA, where you can find lots of tips and tricks, and also for frequently asked questions, which can help you for when you present your proposal.
Thank you very much, Sabine. So you've listened to Sabine, budget is available, next cut-off date, submission deadline is January, then April, then September for 2025, and this is still under the national allocation system. And then as of 2026, and for 26 and 27, it will be first come, first served. And as you have to submit a grant application and a loan application in parallel, I think that going for advisory is definitely not a luxury. So really, we encourage you to do so. And I thank you very much, Borislava Gawrowska, for being here today with us and explaining to you from the loan side and the advisory side to the basic information.
Good morning to everybody. I'm really very happy to be part of this fantastic event. Yesterday I benefited a lot from many good stories and
Slyšela jsem tu včera úžasných příběhů a o výborných projektech, tak já bych jenom přidala další část do skládanky.
Thus under the Just Transition Mechanism and what's our role there. Next slide, please. And the next one, yes. So this picture you've seen today because my colleagues Runas presented the role of JASPERS and Target, but I have it here in my slide deck because it's a good representation of how the EIB group supports all the three pillars of the Just Transition Mechanism via lending, blending, and advising. And as you can see under Pillar 1, we can provide co-financing via structural programs and also can manage financial instruments. And one important part of our work under Pillar 1 is the involvement of JASPERS in supporting member states prepare for the JTF grants. Under Pillar 2, as the main implementing partner of InvestEU, we provide the InvestEU guarantee to reduce the risk and to also finance the private sector. Our advisory offer under Pillar 2 is also under the InvestEU program. It's under the InvestEU Advisory Hub, and it can cover a very wide range of sectors and also any stage of the project cycle. We can combine and mix and work under different sectors, different stages, etc. And Pillar 3, which will be the focus of my next slides, it comes with both financing and grant component. It has also the advisory part, and we have a dedicated envelope under the InvestEU Advisory Hub for Pillar 3. So this is ring-fenced money which we can use for our advisory assignments only for the PSLF work. Overall, just to summarize on the vertical line that you saw related to advisory, so far we've had 78 assignments, advisory assignments, of which 33 have been completed, and 45 are ongoing for pipeline development, preparation of grant requests, project preparation and implementation support. Zooming in, Pillar 3, well, a summary maybe for all these points that you see on the slide is that it all starts with a bankable project. It should not be a profitable project, but it should be bankable because the EIB takes it through its regular project appraisal process, and it undergoes due diligence and is reviewed as any other lending operation the bank is taking into consideration. So eligible projects also can be in a wide range of sectors contributing to a just transition. Those projects need to be located or to benefit territories identified in the territorial just transition plans. And one very important point is that these projects should not benefit from other EU grants, including Recovery and Resilience Facility, including InvestEU, including the other pillars of the Just Transition Mechanism. They can benefit only from the advisory proposal. Next slide, please. So the EIB provides different types of loans depending on the project size. Typically, for large, mature, standalone projects, we provide investment loans. These loans, they have a single promoter, who is also the PSLF grant applicant. And what do we mean by large projects? For us, these are projects exceeding 25 million euros of project cost. And generally, the EIB can provide up to 50% in lending to this project, to finance this project cost. For large portfolios of investment projects, this means a number of projects whose total cost exceeds 25 million euros, we provide the so-called framework loans. And within such a framework loan, we can have a number of smaller projects that can range from 50,000 euros to 12.5 million euros in project cost. And for smaller projects from multiple beneficiaries, we provide the so-called intermediated loans. They are dedicated credit lines to our financing partners, the intermediaries. And project costs there can vary from 2 to 25 million euros. The PSLF grant, for the applying to it, actually the individual borrowers, they need to directly apply after they have signed a loan agreement with the relevant intermediary. The next slide, please. Because you've already just saw this, the same picture, my message here is to contact the EIB as soon as possible if you are interested in the public sector loan facility, so that we can discuss with you the project in more details. We can discuss with you the loan, the process, what would be the maximum loan amount, because based on the loan amount, all the calculations for the grant are done. And that's why, in terms of timing, only once we fix this loan amount, I think it's safe to know and to express your interest on the grant side. And that's why it takes us a little bit more time, because we go through our appraisal process, due diligence, and then we can more certainly have our loan defined. Next slide, please. So, where it all fit, where in all of this actually EIB advisory fits. Typical needs EIB advisory support can meet include preliminary advice. Questions that you can ask yourself are: what types of financing could be considered for our project? What is the approximate size of the loan and the grant? Is our project eligible for financing under the PSLF? We also provide preparation support. So typical questions that we can address here are: how to ensure our PSLF project meets EIB lending criteria? Is my project mature enough for EIB appraisal? We can also provide implementation support. Now that we've received the PSLF financing, how do we move further? How do we organize and procure, for example, works and services? How do we ensure quality of certain deliverables? And horizontally, we do capacity building and dissemination, which typically can address the questions like: can you help us promote PSLF in our region? Or our project implementation unit needs some very specific sectoral expertise. Can you help us there? So this is a very schematic, of course, representation of how we can help you with our advisory services. As I said earlier, we can also mix a lot of the elements. Every assignment we do, it's driven by the specific needs of the client and the project. And we start with practically a blank sheet of paper and structure the support tailored to your needs. I will conclude here my presentation, but I'm available today and after this panel for any bilateral meetings, for any questions that you might have. And I'm very much looking forward to talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marislava. Indeed, it's good that you stay after the session, and I'm sure you will get many more questions after this brief introduction. Let me go directly to our project beneficiaries, starting with Gustav. Please tell us a bit more about the sustainable and affordable housing project that you implement in Sweden, and the results that you can already share with us, having been also through all the filter of the selection from EIB and the Commission. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Good morning. Gustav Olander from the city of Skellefteå in the north of Sweden. So we can go to the next slide and the next after that one. As I said, Skellefteå, northern Sweden, we are right in the center of a unique societal transformation that is happening in the north of Europe. This is driven by the new green industries, green steel, and in our case, the establishment of Northvolt's first battery cell gigafactory in Europe. So it's located in Skellefteå, roughly 200 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle. The Gigafactory will produce around 60 gigawatt hours of batteries when it's in full production. But the societal transformation is much, much larger than that for our city, because even though Northvolt expects to have something like 3,000, 3,500 jobs, we expect that up to 15,000 new jobs will be created in our immediate region thanks to this. And it's because it's not about one company, it's about a societal transformation that is happening. So our city, our municipality, had around 72,000 inhabitants in 2017 when Northvolt declared their plans to build a factory in our city. And we have been growing really quickly since then. We come from a situation where the city had a stable population for a long time, but now we are growing among the quickest in Sweden and are now 78,000 people, planning for 90,000 by 2030. Why are we growing? Well, we are in a region where it's not like we have a lot of bigger cities around us for people to commute into work. People need to move to Skellefteå to be able to populate these investments. And it's the same for our neighboring cities, Boden, Kiruna, Gällivare, for example, where they are working on the green steel. We need more people to move to this area. And when people move somewhere, they of course need somewhere to live, and they just don't need somewhere. They need an attractive place to live. They need a place where they can prosper, where they want to stay. And that's what we are working on. We really want to make it possible for them to live and experience our motto, which is a sustainable place for a better everyday life. So if we move to the next slide, and our Cherries project in summary, which is what we are speaking about here. This is a support for us to be able to provide 750 sustainable, attractive homes that foster inclusion, that are affordable. We have chosen to distribute those over 7 different sites within our municipality, sites with different characteristics and different assets. We chose these sites because they were in different stages of preparation as we were working on the proposal. That meant that we can ensure to match the results that are asked for in a PSLF. And we have used our municipal housing company, Skellefteå Bostäder, or Skebo, to provide these homes. And what we also did was looking at projects that could serve a real purpose, that really could deliver what is needed without disturbing the private housing market. And we also kept to the principles that we have in general, meaning a portion of the homes we build in our municipal housing company Skebo are set aside for people with special needs or social needs. So that's what we have been working on. And it's also a way to integrate social housing in the overall building stock. So it's really about integration also. At this point, the first tenants are moving into the first homes. 3 of the 7 sites are more or less ready, so people are living there. So we are actually seeing the results as we speak. And what we also see right now is that it's really important for the public sector to work together with the private sector to provide what is needed to support the transition. And we also see from our city that it's really important for the public sector to stand up and provide a stable part of this, even when the private sector might be facing some obstacles along the way. We need to show that we believe in this transition, because we really do. So, those are my words. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gustav. As you said, I mean, this is really very much about society transformation, and society transformation brought by the climate transition. and which of course has its different rhythm, and it has as a key challenge to ensure housing, and housing really being at the focus of the European Union policies and the next challenges for the new European Commission for sure. So this is quite really an exemplary project that you're showing to us, and how the public sector facility and the public sector as such has a fundamental role to play also for the society transformation to be itself in the green, in the climate transformation. So thank you very much for your short presentation. And now I will give the floor to Lauriane to present the Green Mo project in Lille that is going to implement sustainable mobility solutions.
Good morning. I'm Lauriane Jaskowski from European Metropole of Lille. So, slide 2, please. Next slide. Thank you. Our project, Mel in Green Mobility, aims to offer 1.2 million metropolitan residents more efficient, affordable, and environmentally friendly mobility services on a large territory. The project will support changes toward more sustainable mobility, improve accessibility to public transport network, and develop soft mobility with the objective to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. 3 components of success regarding the European Green Deal carbon neutrality target over a 5-year period from 2023 to 2027. First component, the renewal of tramway fleet, 20 transit vehicles, and upgrade and renovation of the whole tramway network on 18 kilometers. Second component, development of an ambitious cycle plan of 220 kilometers. And third component, purchasing of new clean vehicles, buses and waste collectors with hydrogen technology. Next slide, please. So, which steps preparation for the application processes? 3 can be described. First one, the application on Sigma. It means identification of administrative, financial, technical elements to be gathered. Setting up a project team. Sharing templates on the application form with the team. Writing the application with weekly milestones. Proofreading, translation, and then submission. For this step, help can be found through webinar and senior help desk. The second step is the IEB application. It's a different application form, including elements of the application form for senior, but more dedicated to budgetary aspects, financial health of the applicant, and technical implementation of the project. It can include a site visit also. And the first step is the grant preparation. It means regular meetings with senior, collection of more precise technical and administrative information about the project to be as exhaustive as possible and realistic also. Next slide, please. So now some words about the project preparation and maturity. First, a selection on a topic available on PSLF among the application projects. Then, choose a component of the project, which means projects that are budgetarily identified, already planned, and also completed by the end of 2027. And third, project already been subject of consultation, so as to be able to reach realistic objectives with the project. At last, some tips before applying. Have a good technical and overall knowledge of your project. Set up a project team. Be the most concise possible despite the exhaustiveness of the question of the application form. And then also apply in your native language. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lauriane, for giving your perspective in terms of project preparation. You saw how long it takes. So again, a call on preparing yourselves already, on going to the advisory, and definitely speaking to our speakers also at the end of the session. And that it was another quite telling example of how the public sector facility can come into the changing the user's approach towards commuting, and this is of course crucial for decarbonizing the transport sector. Now, after Lorian, let's connect with our speakers from Ostrava, from the Czech Republic. So Ludmila Bacova and Pavla Kotsakova. I hope you can hear us well, and I hope we will hear you well so that you can present your concert hall project in Ostrava.
Dobrý den, doufám, že se také slyšíme. My vás slyšíme dobře. Jmenuji se Ludmila Bacova a ráda bych vám představila projekt koncertní haly ve městě Ostrava. Poprosím prezentaci. Vidíme teďka... Jo, děkuji. Projekt koncertní haly v Ostravě je projekt, který je tady připravovaný, ta myšlenka už dlouhá desetiletí, ale prozatím nebyla možnost sehnat na něj finanční prostředky, což se nám podařilo až tady díky tomuto programu. Ostrava je třetí největší město v České republice a jeho historie je založena na nalezišti uhlí a rozvoji následně těžkého průmyslu. Tady tuto věc se samozřejmě snažíme v Ostravě změnit, k čemu bych měl významně přispět i současný projekt koncertní haly. Snažíme se ten těžký průmysl diverzifikovat na jiné služby, lehčí průmysl a nabídnout lidem větší možnosti. K tomu by měl přispět tady tento projekt koncertní haly, která by měla být srovnatelná s významnými koncertními halami ve zbytku Evropy. Měla by mít velmi vysoké akustické vlastnosti, měla by nabídnout až 1300 míst posluchačům. Tento projekt vlastně umožní posílit pozici města Ostravy a zviditelnit ji nejenom jakoby černé město, které nemá lidem co nabídnout, ale že to je perspektivní místo pro život, který se snaží vytvářet hodné podmínky, které korespondují s udržitelným rozvojem, inovacemi a světlou budoucností. Můžu poprosit o další slide? Projekt koncertní haly je poměrně vysokého finančního objemu. Půjčka z EIB je ve výši 84 milionů eur. My jako méně rozvinutý region můžeme na ní získat až 25% hodnoty my jsme využili, žádost byla podávána dvakrát, na podruhé vlastně jsme navyšovali finanční prostředky, o které se budeme žádat v souvislosti s dopady covidu.
Obviously, we will apply for an extra budget due to the COVID pandemic. So we have set up an application, we signed a grant agreement.
Ten projekt je vlastně dlouhodobá
This is a long-term project,
první přípravy na něm už vznikly v roce
and we did some first preparation as early as in 2018.
Má to ale podporu napříč politickými
However, fortunately, we got a support across all political spectrum, so most of the political parties in the region that are supporting this. We've been in touch with the EU authorities to get a grant, to get a subsidy, and the AIB loan was found to be an option. So we hope to be able to implement the project in several years. The project is based on modern state-of-art technology. We are following all the green techniques. We are using renewable resources and trying simply to make it a really great building. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation of the Ostrava Concert Hall. It really shows you right, how this is a promising example of transforming cold regions, and how culture, art, and history, historical roots are fundamental for this, and of course transforming it in using a cultural site which is accessible to all, which is really also revives the city, how this is of course done in a sustainable way. And thank you very much also to the interpreter for allowing us to understand all this. Now, I would like to turn to the audience very quickly before we have a second round of questions to our speakers, to see if there is already a burning question or some burning questions that you would like to ask after this brief introductory presentation. I see there's a gentleman over there. If you can bring the microphone to him. Maybe you can still have your hand raised so we can see who needs the mic.
Hello, Matthias Diem from a regional authority in Saxony-Anhalt. My question is if it would be possible under PSLF to fund energy communities, and the idea would be that the public task would be assigned to private actors, such as an association of citizens, that could then be funded or supported to start an energy community in their city or region.
Sabine, did you understand it?
I think we have to discuss a bit maybe in the discussion corner to see a bit more about the details about the project. I cannot reply immediately now, but let's have a bilateral afterwards so we can see a bit more in detail. Of course, I would like to stress it's difficult to say from the Commission side also in advance that yes or no it will be eligible. We always have to go also through the process, but okay, we can give an indication that if something could be eligible or not at all. So.
Okay. You want to add anything?
Just to add, from a lending point of view, you need to have a borrower, and this borrower needs to be able to repay a loan, because practically this is what's Pillar 3. And it very much depends how you structure such a project. So we have to take this into account as well.
Any further question before we go for a second round of... yes, please.
Hello, I'm Marcin from Poland. I wanted to ask about timelines, like the final date for submission, final date for project implementation, and the time span of the loan repayments.
I can maybe start and then I pass to Borislava again. For the grants, as I indicated, we have a running call for proposals with 3 submission deadlines next year, and then there will be another call in 2026 with for sure 3 submission deadlines in 2026 and probably another one in January 2027. So the timeline is, as I said, from the start to the signature of the grant agreement. It can take up to 18 months. So this is for signing the grant agreement. And normally the projects run for 60 months, but it can be longer if it's justified. So this then we need to discuss when we are preparing the grant agreement.
And I will just add here to what you asked about the tenor of the loan. It very much depends on the economic life of the assets to be financed by the loan proceeds. And it can be a very long tenor, generally talking about 20, 25 years. It depends on what's being financed.
Okay. Maybe we take one last question before we go back to the speakers, and then we'll have another round. Yes? There?
Hello, Małgorzata Misiak from Managing Authority of Łódzkie Region. I have two short questions. The first is whether the borrower must be a public entity or different partnerships, consortia allowed. And the second question is whether the projects are subject to state aid rules. For example, where there is a commercial impact of cultural center. For example, in Ostrava, do they subject to state aid rules? Thank you very much.
Yes, indeed, the borrower needs to be, or the grant beneficiary needs to be a public entity. PPPs are possible, but we have to, again, assess it on a case by case. So we have to see if it's eligible under the legislation, yes or no. For the state aid rules, we don't look at this for the grant component. So you just apply, and then we don't look into the state aid issues.
On whether the loan can be provided to a consortia, probably not. For this, we can work through our financing partners, intermediaries, and there can be a dedicated credit line that can support the financing of smaller projects from different beneficiaries. But generally, for a standalone loan, there needs to be one single borrower. If it's a framework loan, then we can have it what we call coordinated. For example, if we have a municipality with different subsidiaries, the municipality can be the borrower, and then it can provide the funds to its relevant subsidiaries for smaller projects. But a consortium, it will be very difficult to assess its creditworthiness, and that's why probably this is not a good option.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. And let me now turn back to the Ostrava Concert Hall speakers, so Ludmila or Pavla. Can you tell us a bit how the development of the concert hall took place and what challenges you encountered? And if you would consider using the public sector loan facility for another project?
Dobrý den, já teďka předám slovo kolegyni, která vám
I'll
poblíže
ask a colleague of mine who will tell you the details, because she was in charge of the application.
Dobrý den.
Good morning.
Projekt koncertní haly vlastně
The
připravujeme
concert
už
hall
téměř 5
project
let.
has been
Z
in
toho
preparation
poslední
for
2 roky
almost 5 years,
pracujeme na
out of which
grantové smlouvě a
the
smlouvě
last
s
2 years we've been
Evropskou
working on
investiční
the
bankou.
grant agreement with
Žádost jsme
the
podali v
EIB.
září
Submitted
před
the
2 lety, potom jsme
application
ji
2
stáhli
years
z důvodu
ago. Then
navýšení
we
úvěru,
withdrew
které
it
jsme
because
chtěli
we wanted
požádat
the
o vyšší
credit
částku
loan to
grantu.
be increased.
Tu jsme podali v září loňského
We
roku.
reapplied
Nám
last
byla
year in September.
ta žádost schválena.
The
Na přelomu roku,
application
na začátku
was
tohoto roku jsme připravovali grantovou smlouvu,
approved early
která
this
byla
year, and
podepsána
we started to work
v
on the grant
červenci tohoto
agreement,
roku.
which was signed
Museli
in
jsme
July
vlastně
this
sladit
year.
podepsání té grantové smlouvy se smlouvou s Evropskou investiční bankou,
this agreement, the grant agreement with the EIB agreement.
Nám byl schválen úvěr a potom
So
až
first we had to
mohla
get
být podepsána dotační smlouva.
loan, and only then we were able to work
Začínáme vlastně
with the
už
grant
přípravné
agreement.
práce ke
Now
stavbě,
we
která
are
samotná
starting
začne na konci tohoto
the
roku.
preparation of the
Na
construction
začátku
activities.
příštího
We
roku
should
nás
start with
čeká
that
nějaká první
late this year,
zpráva o
and early next year
pokroku v
we are
rámci tohoto projektu.
expected to send the first
A celé
interim
tomu
report
vlastně
on progress.
nebo zároveň probíhalo už před těmi 5 lety vlastně proběhla architektonická soutěž na samotnou stavbu té haly, kterou vyhrál věhlasný architekt Steven Hall ve spolupráci s Pražskou architektonickou kanceláří. Následně se zpracovávala stavební dokumentace samozřejmě podle českých zákonů. Získali jsme stavební povolení, proběhla hlavní veřejná zakázka na stavební práce, která byla vlastně končená, nebo byl znám dodavatel stavebních prací na jaře tohoto roku.
And we were able to hire the winner.
Nezbytnou součástí přípravy toho projektu bylo kvalitní zpracování studie proveditelnosti,
had to do the feasibility study,
které jsme potom vycházeli pro zpracování samotného návrhu pro Evropskou komisi pro
finalize the project for the grant application.
O dotaci.
Going through the two rates, so the grant and the loan, and you really need to anticipate and work. And of course, as Sabine also has said, you can submit, and if it's not retained, you can resubmit. That was the case.
To bylo trošku komplikovanější tím, že se muselo jednat se dvěma subjekty.
We had to deal with two entities at the same time. EIB,
která vám byla velmi nápomocná ve všech
činnostech, jak už při zpracování té žádosti,
tak potom při projednávání znění grantové smlouvy. Ale ta koordinace byla náročnější o to, že se jednalo se dvěma subjekty a museli jsme vlastně sladit všechny termíny, všechny záležitosti k tomu.
Timelines and everything else.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'm turning to Lauriane on the Lille project. Can you tell us how you actually got to know about the public sector loan facility, and why you decided to make use of it, and if it presented the advantages in comparison to other schemes that you might have been able to access?
We have heard about this scheme first through with a regional authority for youth federal funds. But in details, it was about PSLF. It was a usual contact at the EIB, which introduced us to the scheme in the fourth quarter of 2023. During at a meeting to discuss the appraisal of a financial package. And he explained us how it works, as it seems to be appropriate for some of our projects. Then we took a detailed look in rules of PSLF and on working program, and we've decided to go into the program. About this program, I can mention several added values. First one is an IB financial on attractive terms that can be released over several years, so it helps to secure the project. Second one is a possibility of including costly expenses that are not eligible under other schemes, for example, rolling stocks, as regarding our subject about transport. Also, there is no need to calculate an expenditure base, as it's a flat rate subsidy calculation. We can also mention the payment of substantial grant advance, about 70% of the grant, since the beginning of the project, which is help also secure the project. And at last, also a single financial report for the duration of all the project, which is more simple also to manage the project.
Well, I think that these are very, very relevant elements that you're bringing to the audience, and whoever in the audience would be interested. I think that's. Thank you very much, Lauriane. Now, Gustav, I'm turning to you and to ask you how your project is important to overcome the challenges deriving from the transition towards achieving the Union climate and energy targets, and in what way the location of the project is important.
Well, I think to start with, coming back to the need for more people to work in the green industries to support the transition. That's really why we need this kind of support, and it's connected also to as our workplaces are growing, we really want to invite these new people to be a part of society. It's part of inclusion. We don't want the north of Sweden to be a fly-in, fly-out society. It has large detrimental effects on the society as it is. So it's really about making it possible for people to move to our cities and to experience what is there. You asked about the locations. We chose different sites. One of the things that we saw an opportunity with using this kind of funding is that it's easier to fund building of homes that are a little bit outside of the city center of Skellefteå, which means they are closer to nature, they're in another kind of setting, and these are locations that might be harder to fund using other investors, because they are usually quite remote from Skellefteå. And when you say that you want to add new homes in a small place like Burträsk, which is a really nice little village close to a lake, it might be hard for them to see the need for that. But we can really see that when we built those homes there, they are filled immediately. People want to move even to these locations that can be seen as a little bit outside of the city, because it gives you a possibility to live another kind of life.
Thank you very much, Gustav. No, that's a very wise, inclusive society model that you are proposing, and of course in the respect and fully integrated within nature that you have in Sweden. Now, Borislava, can you very shortly tell us about your experience about how to make the most of the advisory offered under the facility and provided by the EIB? You've already told us, but you know, in terms of recommendations.
Sure, dream big, and we can always, you can always cut from different aspects of a project or your needs, but it's important that you come forward with all the things that you have in mind, and at the end of the day, you also need to have a project, because it's all related to a project that will eventually come to life, and we are just one part of this long road to help you to get there.
Yeah. Indeed. Very good to have a good idea at the start, having a solid project and anticipate it. So thanks. So Sabine, after listening to the speakers today, and of course with your distance over the last 2 years of implementation of the public sector loan facility, what would be your main recommendations to the audience?
Well, as I said already in my presentation, prepare your application well. I think this is very important. Also, well, for the loan component, but also for the grant component. Okay, we are aware that there are two different applications, but I think you can align, explain everything well. And I think once we went through the assessment phase and then through the grant agreement preparation, I think indeed the grant component is rather simple, because it's financing not linked to costs, so we pay a percentage of the loan, and that's it. And as Florian indicated, we pay also immediately 70% as pre-financing, and then there is a final payment at the end. And also to emphasize what Slava indicated, make use of advisory also, because it will help you also to get a loan. We have seen until now that advisory has not been really taken up, because projects were already in an advanced stage of preparation. But those that are still to come, I would really recommend you to make use of this advisory. It will make your project probably more mature for the lending part, but also for the grant component.
Absolutely. I mean, the advisory is really easily accessible, and as we've said from the start, it really can make a substantial difference in the maturity of the project. So thank you very much. I'm turning now to the audience. We are we already are at 11:15 and nobody wants to reduce so much your coffee break, but maybe we can take a couple of questions, having the pleasure of still having these speakers on stage. And then after that, we will anyway have the PSLF discussion corner back, so down the stage. So.
Just a question from the online audience to bring them into the discussion. So we have a question from Clementine Dubois. Can we use the PSLF to finance stakeholders' projects with cascade financing? Is this possible?
It can, but it's what Borislava indicated already. You can have a framework loan where then you have one borrower, but then he's cascading afterwards to other entities, which is the same for the grant component. But maybe you can repeat.
Yes, this is one option, but the other option is to have an intermediated loan, which is a credit line provided to a financial institution, which is a partner of the EIB, and then it can on lend to a multitude of clients with any kinds of projects ranging from 2 to 25 million euros. So this way you can really have a much broader approach and have a diversity of the client base, and you can apparently address different needs. So this is one option, intermediated loan facility, and the other one is a framework loan, but still there you need to have some proximity of the borrower with those entities to which the proceeds of the loan will be further cascaded to. It can't be just anybody.
Thank you. Do we have any other question online? No? So another question maybe from the audience here. Yes, please. Wait until you have a mic so we can hear you well.
Yes, thank you. We have other actors in Sweden who are interested in these possibilities, so we're wondering if you already know the date in 2026 when the calls will open.
So this is, of course, related to the fact that, as Sabine said in the beginning, we have the national allocation system up and running until the end of 2025, and Sweden, like France, I mean, the national allocations have been exhausted already. So while we call on the member states that still have quite a substantial national allocation to really go for the facility, we also want to give the opportunity to the countries that have already exhausted it to start again submitting as of 2026. But Sabine, please.
Well, we plan to have the first submission deadline for the next call, so the open call. It will probably also be January 26. It might be a bit delayed, but it will definitely be in the first quarter of 2026.
And given the time that we have heard how long it takes to prepare, you know, it's basically in 1 year. So I think it's a good opportunity to prepare, and then you be ready for the first submission date in January 2026, when the first come, first served system will be on. One last, no? Okay, then I think we can really thank our speakers, both on stage and through the screen, very much. So as I said, I mean, this is a joint venture, so we have the EIB, we have our Director General Region, but we also have Sinea, and Darius is here with us, and we have the opportunity to have the PSLF discussion corner to provide more replies to the questions that you would still have. So just at the end of this session, it's really below the stage. And for the rest, I think this was extremely informative, enriching. I would really like to thank, in particular, the project beneficiaries that have come, and also online, because I think it really, this is maybe the closer you can feel, because they have been through the process of selection, through the process of submitting different information through different templates for the loan and for the grant component, and they are now at the stage where they see their project seeing the light. And as we have seen, very different projects and very, very important projects. So thank you very much, and all the best to you, really, to go for it. Thank you.